Hi everyone, Jeremy Reynolds from the Getting Started in Finance course. This is a conversation and a topic I've talked about a lot, but not in a little while. And this particular topic I'm talking about today is about re-entering the finance industry, mortgage broking industry, or the entering the finance industry to begin with, and knowing what the actual pathway is. But then also having clarity and understanding of a better way to do things and really mapping it out for you, and then mapping it out and explaining from a getting started in finance perspective, and alpha training and developments perspective, and money coach perspective, what is a better way of doing things. So first of all, I'm going to break things down into a few broad categories and then drill down a bit more specifically. So the categories I'm going to talk about are qualification, authorization, accreditation, consolidation, and then also wrapping that all up in mentoring as well. So the first thing to note is the first category, which is qualification. Now this means receiving an industry entry level qualification that deems you to have the minimum standard of education to become a mortgage broker, a credit advisor, a credit representative, or to hold a credit license. So this is where we get some problems to begin with. And when I say we get problems, that's what I'm in the business of doing, is helping people such as yourselves solve these problems first up and straight up. So you're wanting to enter the industry, and when you enter the industry, you say, well, I need a qualification. Which qualification? What qualification? Where should I do it? Who should I do it through? What outcomes can I expect? This is problematic because we waste time, money getting the wrong qualification to begin with, or we get people who are highly educated and with university-backed degrees, bachelor's, master's, postgraduate qualifications, yet they're still not eligible to become a credit representative or mortgage broker with that qualification, because it comes down to one point. Have you actually learned how to actually write loans? Well, no, they haven't. So there's industry qualifications for that, and these certificate for courses are available through myself, which I lead regularly. So you need to have an industry qualification at a minimum level of certificate 4. Now, when you get your industry qualification, here's the thing. A lot of people do it at a lot of different locations. They do it online. What often happens when people do a purely online qualification, I'm going to explain this. A lot of people, the fail rate increases. It's very few people that can do that completely autonomously, or it just takes them a really long time. Takes them a really long time because, well, they don't have the support, nor do they have the accountability. There's no one saying, well, I've got deadlines for you, other than having the course itself finished within a designated 6-12 month time frame to have it completed. Now, the big issue as well is this. You get an industry level qualification which you have done online. Now, how much of being a mortgage broker is done by yourself, involving no interaction with other people? Basically none. The admin, that's it. We're actually in the people business, where you're working with clients to help them with their financial needs. So if you're not learning the people skills, you're really missing the mark. If you're not learning the scripts and dialogue, the communication skills, you may get a piece of paper, but it's going to be miss out some crucial factors there. You might be deemed competent, but you'd be really lacking the confidence to actually put that into practicality. The next problem is often it's not practical. Is it outdated? Does it tick a box, or is this actually how to be successful as a broker? Now this is coupled with the Getting Started in Finance course, which is the pathway to reach the top 20% of mortgage brokers in the first 12 months. So, my advice, have your whole program conducted by myself, Jeremy Reynolds, through the Getting Started in Finance and Getting Started in Finance 2, where you can do your Cert 4. So you get your qualification, right? You get your piece of paper. People go, I want to write loans now, can I do that? No, you're really at the very beginning. Next, we've got what's called authorisation. This means that you need to make sure that you have the legal things in place so then you can become really be licensed. Now, be licensed means that you become a credit representative under another license, which is most typical, or you hold a credit license yourself. Now, they don't hand those out to everyone on either way. There's actually a process, and no, having your piece of paper, your qualification isn't enough. So the first thing is, to be authorised, you're needing to get industry memberships. Now, the industry memberships are, first of all, the Credit Investment Ombudsman. Everyone entering the finance industry is required to be a member of an external dispute resolution scheme, meaning that if a business can't solve its disputes, conflicts with a client through an internal dispute resolution scheme, it goes to the Ombudsman. So it is compulsory to be a member of the Ombudsman. Now, you need to have an industry membership with an industry body. So we have both the MFAA and FBAA, who represent the mortgage brokers and are the voice for mortgage brokers in the industry, and also somewhat act as the compliance manager for the industry and assisting the clients there. So how do you get these memberships? So first of all, you need to be a person of repute. So if you're looking at entering the finance industry, you're going to be asked to get a police check, and not purely a local, it's got to be national or federal, meaning that it's got to be actually go through the federal police. There's agencies that do it, we can do it direct with the feds themselves. Now, the reason this being is, the fantastic thing about our industry is we have national legislation, meaning you can write a loan for anyone in any state of Australia under the same finance laws. Now, that doesn't mean the same real estate laws when they're purchasing the property, or the same tax structures or stamp duty things. No, this is different, but under the same finance laws to get them credit. Those other things are auxiliary to purely what I'm talking about today. So meaning that you've got to make sure you're checked on a national level, that you do tick the boxes. Now, this takes a couple of weeks, could take longer. So I encourage everyone looking at entering the finance industry or re-entering to get a police check now. Now, typically, groups like the industry bodies, MFAA, FBAA, as well as aggregators, and also the Credit Investment Ombudsman would like make these within the last 3 months. Okay, because a lot can happen in a short amount of time. They don't want to think that you're leaving some other industry, leaving another business, entering the industry, and something has happened in the immediate future. So the fresher your police check is, the better. It's usually a 3-month window. So you get your police check. Also, you're going to be required to get a credit check. What is a credit check? Now, it's interesting. People that get a loan get a credit check. So and what does a credit check actually show and demonstrate? A credit check actually shows a couple of things. It provides a numeric value, which of the level of what a certain level of client you are, which we call credit scoring, which is accumulation of the amount of credit you've applied for, or any particular problems or blemishes you have on your credit record. Okay, but what the industry bodies are looking for, as well as aggregators, which I'll get onto a bit later, so the actual finance bodies are getting up, and the license holders who you're becoming associated with, what they're looking at here is, if you're giving someone advice about their credit, so that's what a loan is, a home loan is a credit, what does your credit record look like? So what they're looking at here is it clean? If there are blemishes, what are they and what are the explanations? A typical example would be of a not acceptable person entering the industry. If we looked on there and there were 30 unpaid credit cards, which were all defaulted, really that person isn't ready at that stage to provide people other advice about their home loan, are they? Compare that to someone that's got a clean record, or what if someone's there was a telco dispute, and there was a $500 default on there, it was unresolved, maybe it shouldn't have been there. that may be viewed as accepted based on the circumstances. Anyway, but they're discussable points as well. But they're looking here in simple terms to look at that your credit history is actually of a standing that would deem you as a person who the common person would be happy to get their loan with. Okay, and then ASIC and then managed by the industry bodies will be looking at those things for you to become a member with them. So you get your industry memberships. So let's talk about the MFAA. I'll use them as an example. They're going to go through these things. They're also going to look at one of the keys that you'll need is when you become an MFAA member, and it's quite interesting. It's the same with the CIO. Often the memberships themselves are somewhat set up for people who are in the industry. This is what it can be difficult at times. There's mechanisms and mechanics involved which are preferable and easier for those that are renewing or existing in the industry. So it's going to ask you, what's your credit representative number? And you go, well, I don't have a credit representative number because I need an industry membership to become a credit representative. That's what this whole authorization component is about. Yet if you talk to the license holder, the aggregator, and they said, well, I need my credit representative number so I can get my MFAA membership, they're going to say, well, we're not going to give you a credit representative number until you get your MFAA membership. It seems like you're stuck right in the middle here. So we have something which is called a letter of intent to appoint as a credit representative holder, which the license holder provides for you. Now, typically, they're not going to provide this for you until they've cited your police check and also cited your credit check, and there's been a vetting process by a person who's in that chain of command for onboarding people. So through our Alpha Finance Solutions, a person, that would be, say, myself. So we're getting authorisation. So when you get your MFAA membership and becoming authorised, knowing that they're going to ask you about your industry qualification, and here's a real sticky point. There's a test or assessment or group of assessments which we call the Compliance Pack 101, which they do, and it's great. It's tough. It's multiple choice. There's different sections. And why do they do this? Because they can't trust your level of qualification. All educators, all courses aren't the same. So it's well within the rights of the MFAA, and I think this is an excellent perspective, that they actually test your knowledge on many of the things that would be in your that you should have covered in your certificate 4, as well as aspects which they are things that they expect of industry members, such as, in addition to the laws, the regulations, and the legal aspect, to make sure that there's English and literacy. Do you speak well enough English? Do you write well enough that you should be able to help clients with their loans? Numeracy. Can you do basic calculations to ensure that you're not messing up basic numbers when you're helping a client secure their finance? Also, they'll talk about and test you on the MFAA Code of Conduct, which they give you notes. Now, mind you, all of this is open book. But it is tricky if you haven't done a course, a Cert 4, which has the depth and practical elements, or you haven't done it a long time. So the industry re-entrant, you might think, well, this law wasn't in place when I did my course. Okay, excellent. Therefore, you need to be brought up to speed with this and make sure you pass with flying colours. So upon doing this, you're deemed eligible, and completing that and passing it, you can get your industry membership. When you get your industry membership, you then have a big tick in the right direction from the licence holder, who will be authorising you as a credit representative. Typically, the onboarding process will have very similar things in place that you've actually had to provide to the MFAA or FBAA. The aggregator is going to want the same information. That's why there's a bit of repetition. But if you don't pass with the industry body, there's no way they're going to assess those documents, right? Now, those documents might be assessed with greater scrutiny than the industry membership or lesser. Okay, there is some discretion that they have, because it's about not only with a license, it's about they need to make sure that the people that become representatives of that license adhere to industry standards, but they also adhere to their business standards as well. And that meaning that you're the sort of candidate that they would like as well in their business, which is really important. Now, I'll wrap up. Here's the thing, as I finish this point, if you do this with any other group, they're going to say, figure these things out, do it yourself, then come see me. And you can probably think that this makes the failure rate quite high. I walk you through this process many times, through the paperwork, through the process, so you can do this. Why? Because this isn't really the test of how good a broker you are, is it? Or how successful. But if you can't get through this process, you can't even enter the industry, and can you imagine the amount of people that are just dropping off because it just seems too hard, there's no guidance how to enter the industry. So now we're looking at getting you onboarded as a credit representative. Okay, so this is an advice giving person. So let's make it clear. If you've got your Cert 4, you can't, purely your Cert 4, you can't give advice regarding credit or home loans. If you've got your industry membership, you can't give advice about home loans. It's only once you receive your 6-number credit representative number that you have been appointed by a license holder. That's like your driver. That's like your license to drive. That's when you can be an advice-giving person. And again, this would need to be on your right documentation, on your business cards, on your signatures, on your emails. It makes it clear that you are an advice-giving person of that particular license holder. Now, that license holder themselves, they make sure that you adhere to follow due process under the industry regulations, such as the National Consumer Credit Protection Act. But then also they provide you the means to be able to follow those rules. So the right templates, the right documents to use to make sure you're compliant. Now, what I offer is making sure that you're not now becoming a compliance expert, you're still in sales, you're still winning the business, and utilising those tools to actually engage in professional conduct, as opposed to thinking that you need to be compliant. To be professional, to be sharp, and to win business and help more people is really what we're in this for. So then you become authorised to receive your credit representative number. Well, who can you write loans with? At this stage, usually no one. There might be certain bank accreditations that are then given as an automatically because you've gone through the approval process with a certain aggregator or a certain business. But the vast majority of them, you need to do individual accreditations with those banks, which involve training sessions, documentation, before you get on board with them. Again, if you're on your own, you have to figure it out for yourself. Now, a particular aggregator, a particular business might have 40 lenders on their panel with 3 or 4 products each as a minimum. When you're getting into the hundreds and hundreds of different products, you're never going to know them all, but you need to know enough to understand their policy to write business with them. So what I do at my regular PD days, as well as group sessions, I get these BDMs in to train you, to be of value, to build the relationships with you, to help you so you can become individually accredited with those. And also, here's the other thing, with so many different bankings and institutions, you need a priority order. Which banks, which institutions you should be accredited with first and foremost, in what order and how long it will take before you can write business with them. So that's the accreditation process. The next point involved in this is what we call the mentoring. Now, the industry would say mentoring happens after you've entered the industry. I say wrong. You need to be mentored to enter the industry, hence the importance as the first thing you're doing, and while you're sorting out these processes and getting this documentation in place, is completing the Getting Started in Finance course. It's actually a preparation course for being successful in entering the industry, which is highly applicable for someone that hasn't been in the industry for a long time, which I would call an industry re-entrant, because things change in a week in our industry, let alone 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Not to scare you, I'm here to help you through it and make sure you are brought up to speed, and then learn how to keep getting brought up to speed as things change. And then doing the Getting Started in Finance course 2, which does incorporate the Certificate 4 course, but I'd also encourage people that have done a Certificate 4 elsewhere to come through, do the assessment, so I can actually see your skill set coming into the industry and see if you're actually ready to be an advice-giving, card-carrying person, or whether you need, what level of support you need to do that. As an industry re-entrant, you might be sharp on those things, but it might be actually just filling those gaps in the changes which have happened since you left the industry as well. Now, the last point I mentioned is consolidation. Bring this all together. Now what? Throughout the process, I'm going to go through you with a vast amounts of not only those actionable items, but planning. Let's consolidate that and let's bring it together. Now you've got your authorised. Now this is where people go, oh, what do I do now? This is consolidating the information, consolidating your plans, consolidating your goals, putting it all together, presenting it, focusing on it, and now saying, well, we do have a plan to move forward with now for the next month, 3 months, 6 months, 12, 18, 24 months to ensure that you achieve your individual, group, business and financial goals. These things are important. So I encourage you, ask me questions, post questions about this, private message me about these things as well. I'd love to talk to you more about this, and no matter where you're at with your financial journey as a mortgage broker, speak to me and I can help you be successful and make this your best year yet.